C.S. Lewis wrote, "Every faculty you have, your power of thinking or of moving your limbs from moment to moment, is given by God. If you devoted every moment of your whole life exclusively to His service, you could not give Him anything that was not, in a sense, His own already." Stewardship, dear friends, is an important part of the Christian life. We as Christians have chosen to give our lives to Jesus Christ. That means we have surrendered our will, our desires, and our way of doing things to Him. The way we live that life is the classical stewardship definition. Stewardship, dear friends, means that we are not the owners of something, but only the managers. We do our best to manage something according to the owner's will and desire. Now, 1 Corinthians 6, 19-20 gives us an idea of that principle. "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and your spirit, which are God's." A Christian author named Bill Peel, in his article Leadership and Stewardship, suggests that there are 4 important principles about biblical stewardship that we must understand. First is the principle of ownership. Psalm 24 verse 1 tells us, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it." The scriptures, friends, tells us that God created everything and put human beings in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. It is clear that human beings were created to work, and that work is the stewardship of all the creation that God has given him. This, my dear friends, is a fundamental principle of biblical stewardship. God owns everything. We are simply caretakers, managers, or administrators acting on God's behalf. Stewardship, therefore, expresses our obedience regarding the administration of everything God has placed under our control, which is all-encompassing. Stewardship, then, is a commitment of oneself and possessions to God's service, recognizing that we do not have the right or control over our property or ourselves. Now, echoing Deuteronomy 8:17, we might say, "My power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me." Pinagpaguran ko to, pinagpawisan ko to. However, Deuteronomy 8:18, the following verse, counsels us to think otherwise. "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." So, we do not own actually the things that we have right now. They belong to God. We are just caretakers. That's the principle of ownership. The second principle is the principle of responsibility. Although God gives us all things richly to enjoy, nothing is ours, right? Nothing really belongs to us. God owns everything. We are responsible for how we treat it and what we do with it. While we complain about our rights here on earth, the Bible constantly asks, what about your responsibilities? Owners have rights, stewards have responsibilities. Dear friends, we are called as God's stewards to manage that which belongs to God. While God has graciously entrusted us with the care, development, and enjoyment of everything He owns as His stewards, we are responsible to manage His holdings well and according to His desires and purposes. The third principle, my dear friends, is the principle of accountability. A steward is one who manages the possessions of another. We are all stewards of the resources, abilities, and opportunities that God has entrusted to our care And one day, each of us will be called to give an account for how we have managed what the Master has given us. This is the lesson taught by Jesus in the parable of the talents. God has entrusted authority over the creation to us, and we are not allowed to rule over it as we see fit. We are called, dear friends, to exercise our dominion under the watchful eye of God, our Creator, managing His creation in accord with the principles He has established. Like the servants in the parable of the talents, we will be called to give an account of how we have administered everything we have been given, including our time, money, abilities, information, wisdom, relationships, and authority. We will all give account to the rightful owner as to how well we manage these things that He has entrusted to us. And finally, dear friends, the fourth principle is the principle of reward. Colossians 3:23-24, Paul wrote, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." My dear friends, the Bible shows us in the parables of the kingdom that faithful stewards who do the Master's will with the Master's resources can expect to be rewarded. Yes, we can be rewarded. However, our reward here on earth will be incomplete, but our full reward will be the next. We all should long to hear the Master say what he exclaims in Matthew 25:21. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your Master's happiness." As Christians, during this time of pandemic, we need to embrace this larger biblical view of stewardship, which goes beyond church budgets or building projects, though they're important. It connects everything we do with what God is doing in the world. Dear friends, we need to be faithful stewards of all that God has given us. Yes, we need to be faithful stewards of all that God has given us within the opportunities presented through His providence to glorify Him, serve the common good, and further His kingdom. Once again, dear friends, we are called to be faithful stewards. God bless us all.